This is Always Outnumbered, Always Outgunned, chapter Crimson Shadow, section 1. What are you doing there, boy? It was 6 a.m. Socrates Fortlow had come out to the alley to see what was wrong with Billy. He hadn't heard him crow that morning and was worried about his old friend. To crow is what a rooster does in the morning. The sun was just coming up. The alley was almost pretty with the trash and broken asphalt covered in half-light. Discarded or thrown out wine bottles shone like murky emeralds or dark emeralds in the sludge. Sludge is like mud and dirt. In the dawn shadows, Socrates didn't even notice the boy until he moved. He was standing in front of a small cardboard box, across the alley, next to Billy's wire fence. "What business is it to you, old man?" the boy answered. He couldn't have been more than 12, but he had the hard convict stare. A convict is a person who's been put in jail. Socrates knew convicts. He knew them inside and out. To know something inside and out means to know it well. "I asked you a question, boy. Hasn't your mother told you to be civil?" The boy turned away, ready to leave. He wore baggy jeans with a blooming blue t-shirt over his bony arms and chest. His hair was cut close to the scalp. Scalp is the skin on your head. The boy bent down to pick up the box. "What do they call you?" Socrates asked, the skinny butt stuck up in the air. "What is it to you?" Socrates pushed open the wooden fence and leapt. If the boy hadn't had his back turned, he would have been able to dodge the stiff lunge. As it was, he heard something and moved quickly to the side. Quickly, but not quickly enough. Socrates grabbed the skinny arms with his big hands, the rock breakers, as Joe Benz used to call them. "Ow!" Socrates shook the boy until the serrated steak knife, serrated means to have ridges, the steak knife, which had appeared from nowhere, fell from his hand. The old brown rooster was dead in the box, his head slashed so badly that half the beak was gone. "Let me loose, man!" the boy kicked, but Socrates held him at arm's length. "Don't make me hurt you, boy," he warned. He let go of one arm and said, "Pick up that box. Pick it up." When the boy obeyed, Socrates pulled him by the arm, dragged him through the gate, past the tomato plants and string bean vines, into the 2 rooms where he had stayed since they'd let him out of prison. The kitchen was only big enough for a man and a half. The floor was pitted linoleum. To be pitted means to have holes in it. Maroon where it had kept its color, gray where it had worn through. There was a card table for dining and a fold-up plastic chair for a seat. There was a sink with a hot plate on a drain board and shelves that were once cabinets before the doors were torn off. The light fixture above the sink had a 60-watt bulb burning in it. The room smelled of coffee. A newspaper was spread across the table. Socrates shoved the boy into the chair, not gently. "Sit down." There was a mass of webbing next to the weak light bulb. A red spider picked its way slowly through the strands. A strand is a piece of line or wire or rope. In this case, it's one of the pieces of the web that the spider made. "What is your name, boy?" Socrates asked again. "Darrell." There was a photograph of a painting tacked underneath the light. It was the image of a black woman in the doorway of a house. She wore a red dress and a red hat to protect her eyes from the sun. She had her arms crossed under her breasts and looked angry. Darrell stared at the painting while the spider danced above. "Why did you kill my friend?" "What?" Darrell asked. There was fear in his voice. "You heard me. I didn't kill anybody." Darrell gulped and opened his eyes wider than seemed possible. "Who told you that?" When Socrates didn't say anything, Darrell jumped up to run. But the man socked him or punched him in the chest, knocking the wind out of him, pushing him back down in the chair. Socrates squatted down and scooped the rooster up out of the box. He held the limp old bird up in front of Darrell's face. Why did you kill Billy, boy? That's a bird, Darrell pointed. There was relief mixed with panic in his eyes. That was my friend. You're crazy, old man. That's a bird. A bird cannot be anybody's friend. Darrell's words were still wild. Socrates knew the guilty look on his face. He wondered at the boy, and at the rooster that had gotten him out of his bed every day for the past 8 years. A rage went through him, and he crushed the rooster's neck in his fist. You're crazy, Darrell said. A large truck made its way down the alley just then. The heavy vibrations went through the small kitchen, making plates and tinware rattle loudly. Tinware is like dinnerware, plates and things, but it's made out of tin. Socrates shoved the corpse into the boy's lap. A corpse is a dead body. Get over there to the sink and pluck it. To pluck means to take all the feathers out of something. You don't have to do it. You better believe I'm not going to, but I will kick your butt if you don't. Pluck what? What do you mean pluck it? I mean go over there to that sink and pull out the feathers. What did you kill it for if you're not going to pluck it? I was going to sell it. Sell it? Yeah, Darrell said. Sell it to some old lady that wants to make some chicken. Section 2. Darrell plucked the chicken bare. He wanted to stop halfway, but Socrates kept pointing out where he had missed and pushed him back toward the sink. Darrell used a razor-sharp knife that Socrates gave him to cut off the feet and the battered head. He slit or cut open the old rooster's belly and set aside the liver, heart, and gizzard. Rinse out all the blood, all of it, Socrates told his captive. Man could get sick eating blood. While Darrell worked under the older man's supervision, Socrates made minute rice. Minute rice is a type of rice that comes in a box that's partially cooked. It only takes a quick minute to finish it. And then green beans seasoned with lard is a type of fat, and black pepper. He prepared them in succession, or one after the other. One after the other on the single hot plate. A hot plate is like one of the burners on top of a stove. Then he sautéed the giblets with green onions from the garden in bacon fat that he kept in a can over the sink. He mixed the giblets in with the rice. When the chicken was ready, he took tomatoes, basil, and garlic from the garden and put them all in a big pot on the hot plate. Billy was a tough old bird, Socrates said. He's going to have to cook for a while. When are you going to let me go, man? Where do you have to go? Home. Okay, fine. Billy could cook for an hour or more. Let's go over to your house. Where's that at? What do you mean, man? You're not going to my house. I sure am, too, Socrates said, but he wasn't angry anymore. You come over here and murder my friend, and I've got to tell somebody responsible. Darrell didn't have any answer to that. He'd spent over an hour working in the kitchen, afraid even to speak to his captor. A captor is a person who takes someone captive, or hostage, prisoner. He was afraid mostly of those big hands. He had never felt anything as strong as those hands. Even with the chicken knife, he was afraid. I'm hungry. When are we going to eat? Darrell asked. I hope you plan to eat this here after all this cooking. Naw, man. I thought we could go out and sell it to some old lady that would like to eat chicken. Huh? Darrell said. The kitchen was filling up with the smell or aroma of chicken and sauce. Darrell's stomach growled loudly. Are you hungry? Socrates asked him. Yes. That's good. It isn't good unless I have something to eat. A boy should be hungry. Yep, boys are always hungry. That's how they get to be men. What do you mean, man? You're just crazy, that's all. If you know you're hungry, then you know you need something. Something's missing, and hungry will tell you what it is. That's some kind of friend to you, too? Darrell sneered. Is hungry your friend? Socrates smiled then. His broad black face shone with delight. He wasn't a very old man, somewhere in his 50s. His teeth were all his own and healthy, though darkly stained. The top of his head was completely bald. Tufts of wiry white hovered behind his ears. Hungry? Hello, and how come? They are all my friends, my best friends. Darrell sniffed the air and his stomach growled again. Uh-huh, Socrates hummed. That's right, they're all my friends. All of them. You have to have good friends if you want to make it through the penitentiary. The penitentiary is a type of jail. Were you up in jail? Darrell asked. Whoops. Were you up in jail? Darrell asked. Yep. My old man's up in jail, Darrell said. At least he was. He died, though. Oh, sorry to hear that, little brother. I'm sorry. What were you in jail for? Socrates didn't seem to hear the question. He was looking at the picture of the painting above the sink. The right side of the scene was an open field of yellow grasses under a light blue sky. The windows of the house were shuttered or closed, and dark, but the sun shone hard on the woman in red. Are you still hungry? Socrates asked. Darrell's stomach growled again, and Socrates laughed. Section 3. Socrates made Darrell sit in the chair while he churned over the trash can for his seat. He read the paper for half an hour or more while the rooster simmered on the hot plate. Darrell knew to keep quiet. When it was done, Socrates served the meal on 3 plates, 1 for each dish. The man and boy shoveled down dirty rice, green beans, and tough rooster like they were starving men. Eating off the same plates, neither one uttered a word. The only drink they had was water. Their glasses were mayonnaise jars. Their breathing was loud and slobbery. Hands moved in syncopation, tearing and scooping. Anyone witnessing this would have said that they hailed from the same land or came from the same place, prayed to the same gods. When the plates were clean, they sat back, bringing hands across bellies. They both sighed and shook their heads. That was some good food, Darrell said. Bet you didn't know you could cook, huh? Socrates asked. Oh, no, the boy said. Keep your mouth clean, little brother. You keep it clean, and then they know you mean business when you say something strong. That means don't swear all the time. And if you swear, then when you do swear, people will know that something's really, really wrong. Darrell was about to say something, but decided against it. He looked over at the door and then back at Socrates. Can I go now? He asked, a boy talking to his elder at last. Not yet. How come? There was an edge of fear in the boy's voice. Socrates remembered many times reveling in the fear he brought to young men in their cells. Back then he enjoyed the company of fear. Not till I hear it. You can't go until then. Hear what? You know what, so don't be playing stupid. To play stupid is to pretend that you don't know something that you do know. Don't be playing stupid, and you just ate my friend. Darrell made to push himself up, but abandoned that idea when he saw those hands rise from the table. You should be afraid, Darrell, Socrates said, reading the boy's eyes. I killed men with these hands, choked them, and broke them. I could crush your head with one hand. Socrates held out his left palm. I'm not afraid of you, Darrell said. Yes, you are. I know you are because you're not a fool. You've seen some bad things out there, but I'm the worst. I'm the worst you've ever seen. Darrell looked at the door again. There isn't anybody that's going to come and save you, little brother. There isn't anybody that's going to come. If you want to make it out of here, then you better give me what I want. Socrates knew just when the tears would come. He had seen it 100 times. In prison, it made him want to laugh. But now he was sad. He wanted to reach out to the blubbering or crying child and tell him that it was okay, that everything was all right. But it wasn't all right, and it might not ever be. Stop crying now, son. Stop crying and tell me about it. About what? Darrell said, his words vibrating like a hummingbird's wings. About who you killed, that's what. I didn't kill anybody, Darrell said in a monotone. A monotone is the type of voice where there's no inflection. Let me see if I can do it. I didn't kill anybody, Darrell said with a monotone. So it's a very smooth voice. I think I kind of did. Yes, you did. Either that or you saw something. I heard it in your deny when you didn't know I was talking about Billy. I know when a man is guilty, Darrell. I know that down in my soul. Darrell looked away and set his mouth shut. I'm not a cop, little brother. I'm not going to turn you in. But you killed my friend out there, and we just ate him down. I owe it to Billy, and to you too. So tell me about it. You tell me, and then you can go. They stared at each other for a long time. Socrates grinned to put the boy at ease. All right. They stared at each other for a long time. Socrates grinned to him to put the boy at ease, but he didn't look benevolent or nice. He looked hungry. Darrell felt like the meal. Section 4. He didn't want to say it, but he didn't feel bad either. Why should he feel bad? It wasn't even his idea. It wasn't anybody's plan. It was just him and Jamal and Norris out in the oil fields above Baldwin Hills. Sometimes dudes went there with their old ladies, and if you were fast enough, you could see some things. They also said that the army was once up there and that there were old bullets and even hand grenades just lying around to be found. But then this retarded boy showed up. And retarded is an old word for someone whose brain doesn't work like people's brains typically do. We don't use that word anymore. He said that he was with his brother, but that his brother left him, and now he wanted to be friends with Darrell and his boys. At first, we were just playing, Darrell told Socrates. You know, pushing him and stuff. But when he kept on following them, when he squealed every time they saw somebody, they hit him and pushed him down. Norris even threw a rock at his head. But the boy kept on coming. He was running after them and crying that they had hurt him. He cried louder and louder, and when they hit him to shut him up, he yelled so loud that it made them scared right inside their chests. You know, I always practice with my knife, Darrell said. You know, you got to be able to get it out quick if somebody gets on you. Socrates nodded. He still practiced himself. I don't know how it got in my hand. I swear I didn't mean to cut him. Did you kill him? Socrates asked. Darrell couldn't talk, but he opened his mouth and he nodded. They all swore never to tell anyone. They would kill the one who told about it. They swore on blood and went home. Did anybody find him? Socrates asked. I don't know. The red spider danced while the woman in red kept her arms folded and stared her disapproval of all men, especially those two men. Darrell had to go to the bathroom. He had the runs or diarrhea after that big meal, and Socrates thought from telling his tale. When he came out, he looked ashy or gray. His lips were ashen or gray. He slumped back in Socrates' cheap chair, drowsy or tired, but not drowsy like sleepy, but not tired. He was sick and forlorn. Forlorn is another word for sad. For a long time they just sat there. The minutes went by, but there was no clock to measure them. Socrates learned how to do without a timepiece in prison. He counted the time while Darrell sat hopelessly by. Section 5. What are you going to do, little brother? What? How are you going to make it right? Make what right? He's dead. I can't raise him back here. When Socrates stared at the boy, there was no telling what he thought. But what he was thinking didn't matter. Darrell looked away and back again. He shifted in his chair, licked his dry lips. What? He asked at last. You murdered a poor boy who couldn't stand up to you. You killed your little brother, and he wasn't a threat. And he didn't have... You murdered a poor boy that couldn't stand up to you. You killed your little brother, and he wasn't a threat. And he didn't have any money that you could take without killing him. You did wrong, Darrell. You did wrong. How do you know? Darrell yelled. He would have said more, but Socrates raised his hand, not in violence, but to point out the truth to his dinner guest. Darrell went quiet and listened. I'm not your warden, little brother. A warden is a police officer who works in jail and keeps prisoners in jail. I'm not going to show you to the jail. I'm just talking to you, one black man to another one. If you don't hear me, there isn't anything I can do. So I can go now. Yeah, you can go. I'm not your warden. I just ask that you tell me how you didn't do wrong. Tell me how a healthy boy isn't wrong when he kills his black brother who is sick. Darrell stared at Socrates, at his eyes now, not his hands. You aren't going to do anything? The boy is dead now. The rooster is dead too. We can't change that. But you have to figure out where you stand. I'm not going to jail if that's what you mean. Socrates smiled. Shoot. I don't blame you for that. Jail isn't going to help you. Better shoot yourself than go to jail. I'm not going to shoot myself either. If you learn you're wrong, then maybe you'll get to be a man. What is that supposed to mean? There isn't anyone here, Darrell, just you and me. And I'm saying that I think you were wrong for killing that boy. I know you killed him. I know you couldn't help it. But you were wrong anyway. And if that's the truth, and if you could say it, then maybe you will learn something. Maybe you will laugh in the morning sometimes again. Darrell stared at the red spider. She was still now. He didn't say anything, didn't move at all. We all have to be our own judge, little brother, because if you don't know when you're wrong, then your life won't be worth anything. Darrell waited as long as he could. Then he asked, I can go? You've eaten Billy, so I guess that much is through. So it isn't wrong that I killed him because I ate him? It's still wrong. It's always going to be wrong. But you know more now. You're not going to kill any more chickens, Socrates said. Then he grunted out a harsh laugh. At least not around here. Darrell stood up. He watched Socrates to see what he'd do. Does your mother cook at home, Darrell? Sometimes, not too much. You come over here any time and I'll teach you how to cook. We eat pretty good, too. Or we will eat pretty good, too. Uh-huh, Darrell answered. He took a step away from his chair. Socrates stayed seated on his trash can. Darrell made it all the way to the door. He grabbed the wire handle that took the place of a long-ago doorknob. What did they put you in jail for? Darrell asked. I killed a man and I raped his woman. A white man? No. Well, bye. See ya, little brother. I'm sorry about your chicken. Billy wasn't anything of mine. He belonged to the old lady across the alley. Well, bye. Darrell? Yeah? If you get into trouble, you can come here. It doesn't matter what it is. You can come here to me. Section 6. Socrates stared at the door a long time after the boy was gone. For hours. The night came on, and the cool desert air of Los Angeles came in under the door and through the cracks in his small shack. A shack is a building that's not really well built. They came in through the cracks in his small shack of an apartment. A cricket was calling out for love from somewhere in the wall. A cricket is a type of insect. Socrates looked at the woman, sun shining on her head. Her red sun hat threw a hot crimson shadow across her face. There was no respite for her, but she still looked defiant. A respite is a break, or a time off. He tried to remember what Teresa looked like, but it had been too long now. All he had left was the picture of a painting, and that wasn't even her. All he had left from her were the words she never said. You are dead to me, Socrates. Dead as that poor boy and that poor girl you killed. He wondered if Darrell would ever come back. He hoped so. Socrates went through the doorless doorway into his other room. He lay down on the couch, and just before he was asleep he thought of how he'd wake up alone. The rooster was hoarse in his old age. His crow was no more than a whisper. But at least he tried, Socrates thought.